Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Monday Night America here on the NTB Media Network. I'm your host, Roger Noriega. Thank you for joining me. Today is episode 12 in our 21 in our 17th season, and I want to remind everyone to head on over to ntbmedia.net. There it is. You see it on the crawl down there. There's a lot of stuff going on the network, and we invite you to go and visit there, find all of our channels, all of our outlets. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Don't forget to join us. For everyone who's watching, if you want to give us a quick little shout out, do a roll call. And I want to give, of course, this is a bit melancholy one for me. I'd like to announce birthdays, and I have a classmate who passed away. So I'm celebrating his birthday in memoriam, Paul Fike. Miss you, big guy. I know it's been a while, but I'm glad I had the chance to know you when I did. Happy birthday, Paul. And you definitely went young. So I do not have any community announcements tonight, but if you'd like to submit an announcement that you need called a birthday, shout out, an anniversary, an event, go ahead and contact us, and we'll gladly give you some play on the network. And I do want to give, actually, I want to back up a little bit. Our intro, the NDB Media theme, has been since 2009. It is by Robert Summers Potterton III. He is a composer in real life. If you want to check out his stuff, it's rsp3.com. rsp3.com. So we're going to get into it. This is Monday Night America. Of course, we take a unique look at all the stuff happening in the world right now. And I'm going to get to it. Today is June 2nd, 2025, and we'll see. Wow, I certainly don't know what that means, but that's okay. Thank you, Lethal Migraine. I guess I did show for something. Only in America, Lethal. 2 GOP House members want the National Institutes of Health to conduct a taxpayer-funded study of Trump derangement syndrome. The TDS Research Act from Reps Warren Davidson of Ohio and Barry Moore of Alabama would direct the NIH, which I passed by it when I was in Washington, D.C. Incredible campus. It's really awesome. The psychological and social roots of the extreme negative reactions to President Donald J. Trump. Only in America. The Texas House of Representatives has approved a bill that would leave voters carry concealed firearms into polling places. The move comes as poll workers in Texas and nationwide have reported a rise in the frequency of death threats and physical assaults. In a letter, civil rights and gun safety groups pleaded with legislators to reject the bill. Polling places, they said, are and must remain neutral, not intimidating environments, where voters can exercise their constitutional right for free and from fear or coercion. The bill passed 83 to 50 and now goes to the state Senate in Texas. It was a good week for the Arizona Cardinals, whose name or home, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, was ranked first out of all 30 NFL stadiums as a place to ride out a zombie apocalypse. A betting site's tongue-in-cheek report gave State Farm high marks for its closable roof, which is having difficulties, and we have reported on in Sports Talk with the guys. So I don't know how much of a report they did. We've been talking about this, that there's like $25 million in deferred costs, and it's not good. But anyway, for its closable roof, limited entry points, and natural grass field that is capable of growing crops. It was a good week for precocity after 11-year-old Alyssa Perales graduated from a community college in California with associate degrees in math and multiple sciences. Homeschooled by her father from the age of 1, Alyssa, quote, obviously had some innate spark, unquote, said Dad Rafael Perales, but she's put in the work. She's moving to the University of California, Irvine, which is a good engineering school, if I'm not mistaken. It was a good week for wisdom born of experience after President Trump advised the graduating class of West Point to avoid trophy wives. Oh, wow. Let me take a sip at that. Yeah, I'm going to follow that one. I'm going to avoid a trophy wife. The thrice married commander-in-chief, whose third wife spends little time with him, warned cadets that seeking glamorous young replacements, quote, doesn't work out too well. I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives, it doesn't work. Well, maybe you're the problem, sir, but that's okay. And speaking of problems, it was a bad week for concentration after a Microsoft study found that, on average, modern office workers are interrupted by emails, meetings, and assorted other pings every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes? I actually thought it was quite a bit more than that. When I'm able to work it into my calendar. But I do miss it, lethal. I do miss it. Sorry. It was a bad week for FUBAR negotiations or regulations after an Army unit in Missouri responsible for accepting new recruits imposed a strict no cussing policy in response to complaints of extreme profanity. The new policy bans all profanity, vulgar language, rude gestures, or remarks. Ooh, yeah, I'd have a tough time being there. I was watching softball, Letho says. I would take Benny Akbayani's daughter as my trophy wife. I think I know what you're talking about. No, actually, I don't. I believe you. You send me a picture? We might post it online. It was a bad week for Emmanuel Macron. Yes, the video is happening everywhere after a TV video showed the French president being shoved hard in the face, not slapped, shoved, but whatever, by wife Brigitte as they prepared to get off a plane or deplane or alight from. Do you alight from an airplane? I know you alight from a bus, but do you alight from an airplane? English majors of the world, enlighten me. Does one alight from a plane? I know you alight from a bus, but anyway. Look it up! I don't have time. Macron later admitted the couple was bickering, but said the face shove was not a global catastrophe. Well, hey, it is what it is. So it's all good. Continue with a few other tidbits. Apparently, the anti-missile defense is a scam. President Trump's claim that he will install a fully operational Golden Dome over the U.S. by the end of his term is nonsense. Yeah, I think President Reagan spent like $453 billion, 40 years. And what do we have? Like 44 interceptors in Alaska and California. And apparently they haven't been updated. So they're outdated. So I don't know. Country may be too big. It works in Israel. I don't know if it could work. And the cost, I believe they put it at close to $175,000. They're saying it would actually cost over $831 billion. Now, knowing that we don't have a system that works now, what numbers are they coming up with? I mean, talk about creativity. Man, I thought I was good. But it must be true if I read it in the tabloids. A morning news anchor for a New York TV station did her broadcast while in labor. Olivia Jackie of the CBS 6 Albany soldiered on when her water broke shortly before the 5 a.m. broadcast. We do have some breaking news this morning, literally, said co-anchor Julia Dunn. Done. Guess she was done with that one. Olivia's anchoring the news now in active labor. Shaki said she thought it was better to pass the time at work rather than nervously waiting around the hospital. She later gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Quincy. What a wild 24 hours, she said. I can just imagine. It must be true because I read the tabloids. A Norwegian man awoke to find that a massive container ship had run aground within 5 yards of his home at the edge of a fjord. Johan Hallberg slept through the commotion as a 443-foot ship crashed into the shore just before 6 a.m., waking up only when a neighbor frantically rang his doorbell. It was so unreal, said Hallberg, of seeing the ship looming over his house. I went to the window and was quite astonished. I impressed myself by staying cool. Police say the crewman guiding the ship told them he fell asleep. Wow. Way to go, boys. It must be true because I read it in the tabloids. More than 160 people are signed up to run in a clothing optional 5K race at a South Carolina nudist resort. The Buck Creek streak at the Carolina Foothills Resort is in its 11th year and has, pardon the pun, grown steadily. From 25 participants in the first one to 138 last year. The June 14th race has 161 registered runners so far. Running in a crowd of unencumbered by clothes is a great time, said resort board member Tom Crowder. You can go anywhere and do a 5K, but you can't go anywhere and run a 5K naked. Ow. I guess not. No doubt. This is a collection of wit and wisdom over the years. Actually, let's go straight to the poll watch. Consumer confidence fell for the third consecutive month in May, with 69% of adults worried about a potential recession, myself included, and 82% concerned about their cost of living, myself included. 5 years after George Floyd was murdered, 67% of Black Americans believe local police treat them fairly, up 9 points since 2022. 90% of white Americans say police treat them fairly. I'm in neither group. I'm unable to say. There was an article on Talking Points in the week about the national debt and why Congress no longer cares. Simple. No one cares. No one genuinely cares. Because if they wanted to handle the debt, everyone and anyone, it would have been done. There is no desire to do it. It's all hypocrisy. So see if you can figure out this wit and wisdom. As much as guns and warships, maps have been the weapons of imperialism. Cartographer Brian Harley quoted in Geographical UK. If you can't have justice, you'll settle for catharsis. Singer Conan Neutron quoted in Jacobian. A simple man may rob from a freight train, but give him a college degree and he will steal the whole railroad. I think you know who did this one. It was Will Rogers, quoted in UVA Today. You won't get this one. Love is not patronizing, and charity isn't about pity. It is about love. Actually, you may. Mother Teresa quoted in the Suburban Times. You don't want to own a boat. You want to be friends with someone who owns a boat. Comedian Bill Burr quoted in Country Living. I would agree with that. The true symbol of the United States is not the bald eagle. It is the pendulum. And when the pendulum swings too far in one direction, it will go back. Ruth Bader Ginsburg quoted in Quillette. When did the future switch from being a promise to being a threat? You won't get this one. Novelist Chuck Palahniuk quoted in The Knowledge. Yeah, that one was very tough right there. We do have a little bit of technology news. Google reveals its latest AI push. With Google's AI mode, the era of the 10 blue links is coming to a close, said Mark Wilson in Tech Radar. The new AI mode tab gives comprehensive answers to queries instead of the usual top search results. What do we mean by the 10 lines? Do a search on Google, you get the first 10 entries, and then you page on for whatever else. It shouldn't be your go-to for everything, but if you're research, planning, comparing, or learning, AI mode can be a real comfort. Google last week also introduced VO3, the first AI video generator that includes audio, as well as a new AI video editor. Flow, making it easier than ever to direct your own AI-generated movies. Crazy. Another cool new tool is the upgraded Try On feature in Google Shopping, which lets you upload a photo of yourself to try on clothing virtually and perfect your look. Wow. Dimming prospects for Austin Tech. This is in Texas. Austin's tech boom is fizzling, said Isabel Bosquet in the Wall Street Journal. 5 years ago, the Texas city seemed like a growing Sunbelt beacon. Companies like Tesla, Hewlett-Packard, and Oracle announced they were relocating to Austin, lured by the promise of low taxes and better quality of life. Yeah, you forgot about the heat. But in recent months, tech talent has been flowing back to the coasts. One tech industry report found that last year big tech employment fell 1.6 in Austin and startup employment declined 4.9, while tech employment bounced back in both New York and California. Some workers say they quickly grew disillusioned with Austin as becoming tech hub that never materialized. Compared with New York and San Francisco, tech events were harder to find, quality events was lower, and opportunities for new roles was sparser. We have news that a chatbot that blackmails and snitches. Anthropic, the developers of the Claude chatbot, found that some versions of its latest model had such a tendency to scheme and deceive that testers believed releasing it was dangerous. Kyle Wiggers reported in TechCrunch. Safety testers were able to undermine the security precautions in Claude Opus 4 and found the AI attempting to write self-propagating viruses. Terminator Judgment Day. Fabricating legal documentation and leaving hidden notes to future instances of itself. Perhaps most bizarrely, giving fake information the developer was cheating on his spouse. Opus 4 frequently tried to blackmail the tester when it got hints that it would be replaced by another AI. On the other hand, when told to take the initiative in blocking harmful behavior, Opus would lock users out of systems. So the very same system was saying the problem is the users. And it would even try to email media and law enforcement officials to surface actions the model perceived to be illicit. That is absolutely crazy. And they haven't released it yet. So what happens when they do? Think that's going to be good? I don't know. This is Monday Night America here on the NDB Media Network. Thank you for joining me. I am Roger Noriega. I don't know if you know this, but I'm not looking at my wallet. But it now costs a record $1 million to join Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's Florida resort, up from about $500,000 during his first term. The initial fee at Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, rose to $125,000, up from $75,000 in recent years. Another Trump golf club in Florida near Mar-a-Lago now charges more than $300,000 to join. Credit scores plunged in 2025's first 3 months for 2.2 million student loan borrowers and 150 points for another million. The Trump administration recently restarted collection efforts after 5 years of payment pauses. Last week marked the 15th anniversary of the first known use of a cryptocurrency to buy real-world goods, when a software developer paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 Papa John's pizzas delivered to his Florida home. Those coins would be worth $1.1 billion today. Imagine that. Jeez. 2 Papa John's pizzas. Sorry, folks. Having a lot of trouble. That's why I have to drink quite a bit more water. I haven't been drinking water lately. Of course, the everyman actor who was Norm on Cheers passed away. And our condolences to his family and to the fans of Cheers and every other thing that he was in. He was in Portlandia, Elf, Hairspray, Seinfeld, The Simpsons. He was in quite a bit. He was in Taxi, Alice. Wow. Everyman. Norm. And is that going to be it? I think it might be. Yeah, actually, I finished up a bit early today. Wow. So, supposedly I'm never here, but I was here last week as well. But that's okay. We can head over to ndbmedia.net. Let me see. Do I have anything pre-programmed on my notes here? Actually, this would have been last week. Folks, who wrote the Constitution? In the spring and summer of 1787, a contingent of lawyers, businessmen, and other highly regarded state representatives for the time, met at the Pennsylvania State House to fine-tune the parameters of the shaky federal government that was established by the Articles of Confederation, the nation's first stab at a framework for government. Known as the Constitutional Convention, this meeting was perhaps the most momentous occasion in the short history of the United States following the end of the Revolutionary War. Even in the absence of founding fathers Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, who were serving ambassadorships in Europe, the gathered boasted a formidable collection of the nation's leaders, including James Madison of Virginia, my tocayo Roger Sherman of Connecticut, and the elderly but still razor-sharp Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania. As described in the book, The Summer of 1787, the men who invented the Constitution, many of the 55 delegates, carried with them a raft of ideas and some combination of deft oratory skills and, of course, forceful personalities to push others to action. As such, there was no shortage of passionate speeches and threats issued over clashing values, although it proved to be more of a challenge to find calmer voices willing to nudge the rest toward compromise, and an additional challenge to pull off the often debated and revised proposals into a document with language that would stand the test of time. Of course, we have James Madison's Virginia Plan. 4 days after the Constitutional Convention officially commenced on May 25th, 1787, Virginia Governor Edmund Randolph presented an outline of 15 draft resolutions under what became known as the Virginia Plan. Largely authored by Madison, the plan proposed a three-branch federal government, a two-house legislature, a system that heavily concentrated power in the latter, and gave the national government the ability to veto state laws. The ambitious Virginia Plan touched off a series of debates within the convention, starting with how it represented a clean break from, as opposed to a means for improving, the system laid out by the Articles of Confederation. Even more contentious were the debates over how the states would be represented in Congress and who had the power to choose the chief executive. Although an alliance of the smaller U.S. states later proposed a system that hewed closer to the Articles of Confederation, known as the New Jersey Plan, the delegates ultimately rejected this version, where the two plans were put to a vote in mid-July. Morgan Freeman wrote the Constitution. Heading into an 11-day recess in late July, the delegates assigned the job of transcribing the first draft of the Constitution to a group known as the Committee of Detail, consisting of Nathaniel Gorham of Massachusetts, Oliver Ellsworth of Connecticut, James Wilson of Pennsylvania, Edmund Randolph of Virginia, and Chairman John Rutledge of South Carolina. The committee largely worked off the Virginia Plan while also considering a separate draft previously completed by Charles Pinckney of South Carolina, as well as portions of the Articles of Confederation in various state constitutions. And yes, indeed, national treasure. With Randolph providing an initial outline before Wilson delivered a polished version, the five-person committee tackled the difficult task of balancing state and federal powers, even as they took the bold step of introducing provisions that hadn't been formally discussed at the convention. Randolph's outline, for example, enumerated 18 specific powers according to Congress, while Wilson's version ensured that state constitutions could not supersede federal law. It's a documentary. While the other delegates accepted most of the 23 articles delivered by the Committee of Detail, a few ideas spurred additional rounds of heated rhetoric. Among them was a provision that attempted to encode indefinite protection of the slave trade. While this never came to fruition, it exposed the divide between the convention's plantation owners and abolitionists, and rekindled the argument over how the southern population of enslaved people affected represented in Congress. The man who was most responsible for writing the final language, who do you think it would be? After each of the 23 articles had finally been reviewed, a new five-person committee of style was tasked with incorporating the various resolutions that came out of the conventions into something close to a final product. Along with Chairman William Samuel Johnson of Connecticut and Rufus King of Massachusetts, the committee was marked by the notable presence of Madison, whose extensive work on creating and promoting this document earned him the moniker Father of the Constitution, and New York's Alexander Hamilton, who missed much of the convention but was nonetheless admired for his formidable intellect. Yet it was Governor Morris of Pennsylvania who wound up with the job of putting pen to paper, kind of like I in negotiations. A weighty responsibility awarded on the basis of his writing talents. Nope, I just wanted to do it. His ability to work quickly, yeah, and willingness to accept the decisions of his colleagues, yep, even if they differed from his own impassioned views, oh yes. Proving up to the task on all fronts, Moore streamlined the committee of details 23 articles into a concise list of 7 over the course of about 4 days. He also wrote the celebrated preamble to the Constitution, which is a preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, while largely avoiding the temptation of adding new material at this late stage of the game, save for one clause that prevented states from interfering with private contracts. The first signatures presented to the rest of delegates on September 12, 1787. Moore's draft underwent further discussion but minimal changes over the next few days. The final fix came courtesy of the Constitutional Convention's formerly quiet president, George Washington, who sought one final tweak to the never-ending issue of congressional representation. Once the final draft was done, the official job of physically writing out the Constitution was undertaken by Jacob Shallis, assistant clerk of the Pennsylvania Assembly, who carefully engrossed nearly 4,500 words across 4 sheets of parchment. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the like. On September 17, 38 delegates scribbled their signatures on the freshly printed Constitution, with George Reed signing for fellow Delawarean John Dickinson, who could not attend the signing ceremony due to illness. Although the launch of the new and improved federal government was not yet complete, 9 states needed to ratify the Constitution, with the Madison-authored Bill of Rights soon to follow. The tangible document stood as proof of the cooler heads that somehow shepherded 4 months of wildly divergent and often incongruent ideas into the law of the land. There you have it. Who wrote it? Who's the father? But who actually did the writing? Don't know if you knew that, but there it is. I want to thank everyone for joining me. I appreciate you spend Monday evening. This is Monday Night in America, and I don't know when Loveline will return. It's up in the air. I have a lot of things going, but I'm not done with it. I like that program. It's a fun program, so I'm looking forward to be able to follow up with that one soon. Again, shout out to Paul Fike. I know his birthday is in memoriam because he passed some time ago, a classmate of mine, but I do miss him. And on an internal note, I don't think I announced this earlier, one of our own is not well right now. I will not get into her personal situation, but Elizabeth Olivia Cooper she's ill right now. So we ask you for good thoughts, and if you're so inclined, your prayers are much appreciated, directed to and for Elizabeth Olivia Cooper. Roger Noriega, NTB Media, Monday Night America. We'll see you guys on the other side. See you next week. And Sports Talk with the Guys.